Hello and welcome to this session. My name is Sarab Rihal and I'm the Data Officer here at the Centre for Longitudinal Studies. In this session I'll be talking about what next steps data and documentation is available, the content and structure of the data, how to access this information and any important changes that have taken place. This table shows a list of the datasets available for download for Sweep 8 of Next Steps. You can see here a summary of the contents of each dataset, its structure, that is, whether it's a flat or a hierarchical file, and the ID or IDs used to uniquely identify cases in the dataset. Where applicable, the name of the file indicates the survey content of the dataset. It's important that when datasets are downloaded, they should be used in conjunction with the accompanying user guide and questionnaire, the contents of which will be discussed later on. With the exception of the unfolding brackets, all datasets listed here are now available to download from the UKDS under end user license. A notable change regarding the deposit of Next Steps Sweep 8 is the introduction of a new case identifier called NSID. This case identifier will replace the old serial number survey ID, which has been used so far in Sweeps 1 to 7. The reason for this change is to improve the security of the data and increase safeguards on the confidentiality of cohort members. As a consequence, this change of serial numbers has been applied to all downloadable datasets from Sweeps 1 to 8. Downloadable datasets for Sweeps 1 to 7 were redeposited this month with the new ID at the same time as the deposit of Next Steps Sweep 8. This change will apply to secure access data later on this month. Next Steps datasets which were previously merged using Survey ID should now be merged using NSID to allow data to be used longitudinally. It's important that users wishing to use the data for future projects should use the new versions of the data, and datasets carrying the old serial number be deleted within 3 months of receipt of the revised data. There is a notice on the UKDS website which provides practical information and guidance to researchers regarding this change, and it also provides guidelines for destroying data. This shows the format of the unique identifier compared to the previous identifier. NSID is a string of length 8 and prefixed by the letters NS. This is in contrast to Survey ID, which was numeric and of length 5. Files are structured according to the way they are collected during fieldwork and as documented in the questionnaire. Datasets are structured either in a flat file format or a hierarchical file format. This was shown in the earlier slide. The flat file format consists of one record for each cohort member and is straightforward to merge with other flat files using the identifier NSID. Sweep 8 contains a main flat file called NS8 2015 main interview, which contains the majority of the questionnaire data contained in modules 1 to 7. Other flat files in Sweep 8 include the self-completion dataset containing responses to module 8, the unfolding brackets dataset, and the derived variables dataset. In addition, there are a number of hierarchical datasets which contain multiple records for a single cohort member. These datasets consist of responses to questions where the respondent is asked a set of questions which are repeated until no more information is required. Relevant datasets in Sweep 8 include partnership histories, own children in household, other members living in the household, activity and employment histories, and benefits received. Where the series of questions were not relevant to a particular cohort member, they'll have no records in that hierarchical data set. There are a couple of other useful data sets which I've briefly mentioned. They are the unfolding brackets and derived variables data sets. Unfolding brackets were used on a number of questions within the housing and finance modules. So if respondents were unable or unwilling to give an exact amount as an answer to a particular question, for example, exact income, unfolding brackets were used to gain an estimate of that amount. The derived variables dataset contains a set of useful key variables constructed from the data. A list of the variables within this dataset are included in the user guide, and a more detailed specification of these variables will be available shortly at the UKDS. The next couple of slides show examples of derived variables available within the derived variables datasets. NextStep Suite 8 included several established scales, which are listed in the user guide documentation. Overall scores for each scale have been derived and included within the data deposit. This is one example. The Audit C was used to capture alcohol consumption, problems and dependency. So responses to the first 3 questions in this table have been scored from 0 to 4, giving a maximum score of 12. And scores of 5 or more for the derived variable W8D audit are considered Audit C positive and associated with increasing or higher risk drinking. The second example shows a couple of income variables which have been derived using income sources such as earnings and state benefits. Banded data have been used to derive continuous weekly income and consolidated banded weekly income respectively. Ethnicity is shown as a third example here. Variables have been derived using the ONS category groups. Researchers wishing to access ethnicity variables should do so via the derived variables dataset, as this information is included for all cohort members. Over the next couple of slides, a summary is given of the conventions used in the datasets for variable names, value labels, and variable labels. Variable names in the datasets are based on those documented in the questionnaire. In the datasets, these variable names are prefixed with W8, denoting the sweep of the cohort study and consistent with previous sweeps. The remaining characters have been kept as close to the questionnaire documentation as possible and therefore have not been limited to a maximum number of characters. Variables in the derived dataset have been given the prefix of W8D, followed by a variable name. For multi-coded variables, where a single question produces more than one response, a suffix has been used to identify the iteration. Therefore, 08, 0B, 0C has been used to denote the first, second, and third iteration, respectively. Variable labels give an indication of the question contents. A couple of conventions have been used for multi-coded variables and derived variables as follows. Labels for multi-coded variables have been given a common prefix based on the question content. So in the multi-coded example given previously, the prefix used was effect of long-standing illness. All derived variables have been given the prefix DV. The convention for value labels of missing values is outlined as follows. Refused has been used for the value -9. Don't know has been used in the main for -8. Not applicable has been used for the value -1. So missing values for derived variables have been given the label insufficient information for value -8 unless otherwise stated. You will see here that the range of missing values within sweep 8 is simplified compared to the range of missing values that exist in datasets from previous sweeps 1 to 7. Finally, the order in which variables appear in the datasets broadly follows the order of modules and sections within modules as documented in the questionnaire. So this is a list of the documentation currently available for Next Step Sweep 8. The user guide covers in more detail the information on data covered so far in these slides. It also covers in more detail the topics included on other sessions within this seminar, such as the background, survey content, and survey design. The questionnaire contains the entire list of CAPI names, values, and labels, as well as the routing used. This document should be referenced when downloading and using the datasets. The technical report has been delivered by the Fieldwork Agency, NatSen, and includes information on development work, sample design, and content of fieldwork. The Derived Variables User Guide lists the value labels, as well as a description of each derivation. The majority of the data and documentation mentioned so far is available for download via the UKDS website. All users can view the documentation from the data catalogue record for Next Steps. To download the actual datasets, you'll need to be a registered user with the UK Data Service. This registration process involves creating an account with the UKDS, stating the purpose of your project and agreeing to data security policies. Details of this process are available via the UKDS website. Data can be downloaded given a choice of formats, and the most common formats are SPSS and Stata, but you can choose to download tab delimited format, for example, for importing into other software packages such as R or SAS. Next Steps data is currently available under two types of access. These are end user license and secure access, as defined by the UKDS data access policy. For end user license data, one of the conditions of use includes agreeing to preserve the confidentiality of and not attempt to identify individuals, households, or organisations in the data. And the majority of the Next Steps datasets are available under end user license. Currently, this data is available under one study number, which is 5545 for sweeps 1 to 8. Secure access requires additional permissions, such as the completion of special forms and attending a training course. This is data which is considered too confidential or sensitive to be downloaded and must be accessed by secure environments. Linked administrative datasets, geographical datasets, and some variables classified and as sensitive from sweeps 1 to 7 are accessible via secure access. The relevant datasets from sweeps 1 to 8 are likely to be available for use at the end of this month. Finally, there are various resources available to researchers to help locate the vast list of variables. Readily available resources include the questionnaire and a listing of variables from the actual datasets. The UK Data Service's Nestar catalogue allows all users to view variables from end user licensed datasets and get a distribution of frequency counts. Registered users are able to produce tabulations and graphs. And in the near future, Next Steps will be included within the Closer Discovery platform here at the Institute of Education. So that's the end of the session. Thank you for listening, and we'll be taking any questions you may have. So is there a codebook available that would explain the not applicable section?